The real Black Panther, Emperor Menelik II, defeated the Italians. He whipped their up the block. He whipped their down the block. He whipped their across the block. Even the Empress of Ethiopia rode out to battle beside her husband. She wasn't at home getting her fingernails done. She wasn't at the Louis Vuitton shop. She wasn't looking for a new Mercedes. She was next to her husband on the battlefield of Ethiopia, swinging swords against the Italian invader. That's what a Black queen is all about. Not weaving wigs and perms and fingernail polish and high heels. On this day, 1795, an African revolutionary, an enslaved African revolutionary who most of you never heard about. Most of you never heard about. On August the 17th, 1795, in the Dutch Caribbean island of Curaçao, at the height of the slave trade. At the height of the slave trade, an African warrior leader by the name of Tula. T-U-L-A. Do your research. T-U-L-A. T for togetherness, U for unity, L for liberation, and A for Africanism. T-U-L-A led a slave revolt. He organized hundreds, some say possibly thousands, of our enslaved African brethren on the Dutch Caribbean island of Curaçao into a slave revolt. They resisted the Dutch. They rose up so strong that they brought fear and intimidation and panic to the Dutch Empire. Ultimately, General Tula was captured. He was betrayed by some African Curaçao. He was betrayed by some Africans. They turned him in, brothers and sisters. It is so sad. General Tula of the African slave revolution of Curaçao was captured by his own brothers and sisters. He was captured by his own brothers and sisters. He was snitched. Just like Gabriel Prosser, the Virginia Revolution of 1800, snitched out. Denmark Vesey, the Charleston, South Carolina Revolution of 1822, he was snitched out, brothers and sisters. We had Africans back then. We had Negropeans back then, brothers and sisters. Tula was snitched out, betrayed, and captured. And his main generals, General Carpata, Lieutenant Carpata, was also captured by his own African people. They broke Tula's bones. The punishment for Tula leading the most scariest slave insurrection in Dutch Caribbean history, the punishment ordered by the court upon his conviction. The punishment ordered by the court upon his conviction was to break every bone in his body while he was still alive. Are y'all listening to me, Caribbean Africans? Are y'all listening to me, my American Africans, my Canadian Africans? Are y'all listening to me, my European Africans, Africans of Asia, Australia? Are y'all listening to me, my Central and South American Africans? The punishment for General Tula, who led the August 17, 1795 slave insurrection, the court ordered every bone in his body was to be broken while he was still alive. I want y'all to understand this, because this is who y'all want to marry. This is who y'all want to marry. This is who y'all want to have children with. I want y'all to listen. I want y'all to listen. Broke every bone in his body. After the bones in his body was broken, the courts then ordered his face was to be completely to the point of non-recognition. Are y'all listening to me, brothers and sisters? I'm giving you the historical record. I'm giving you the historical record. They his face beyond recognition until it was pitch black and non-recognizable. This was symbolic of erasing his memory from history. This was symbolic of erasing his memory from history. So after they broke all the bones in General Tula's body, After they his face, they, brothers and sisters, y'all not listening to me. Just like they did to the prophet Nat Turner. They, brothers and sisters. And they took his head and they stuck it on a, and they also took the head of his lieutenants, including General Carpata. And they put his head on all the revolutionaries of General Tula's army. The Dutch did it. That's who did it. The Dutch government did it. That's who did it. And they put their heads on, brothers and sisters. They put their heads on to intimidate and scare all the other Curaçao Africans, all the other Aruba Africans, all the other Surinamese Africans, the Bonaire Africans. They scared them into never rebelling again. Do your research on General Tula of the African slave insurrection of the island of Curaçao in the Dutch Caribbean. See, Curaçao was one of the main, import and deport locations for enslaved Africans. It was one of the main transit points. If you wanted to buy slaves, you went to Curaçao. Curaçao was one of those main slave deportation sites. I don't know if my Dutch Caribbean Africans know this. Curaçao was notorious. Curaçao was notorious. They couldn't use Curaçao to grow many crops because Curaçao wasn't really good for the crops. So they used it as a slave market. That's right. Like Walmart, Curaçao was the Walmart of the Caribbean islands during the 500-year enslavement of African people. I said the Dutch Caribbean island of Curaçao. Shout out to all my Curaçao Africans, my Aruba Africans, my Bonaire Africans. Curaçao was the Walmart of the slave trade, brothers and sisters. If you wanted light-skinned Africans, brown-skinned Africans, black-skinned Africans. If you wanted muscular Africans, tall Africans, short Africans. If you wanted beautiful African women that you could and impregnate and forced to have your babies on your slave farms, you took a boat to Curaçao, and that was the great slave market of the Caribbean. But 49 years later, after Tula, 49 years after Tula led the most revolutionary slave insurrection in the Dutch Caribbean, a prince was born in Ethiopia. A prince was born in Ethiopia, a descendant of Queen Makeda and King Solomon of the Holy Bible. I said a prince was born in the mountains of Ethiopia, a royal prince. His name would be Menelik II. That's right, the great Ethiopian monarch, Emperor Menelik II, was born on August the 17th, 1844. Where my Ethiopian Africans at? Where my Ethiopian Africans at? Emperor Menelik II was born on August the 17th of 1844, 49 years after the Tula Revolt in Curaçao. We are one people, brothers and sisters. Emperor Menelik II will keep Ethiopia independent from the thirsty hands of the European invaders and colonizers. And on March the 1st, on Sunday, March the 1st, 1896, Emperor Menelik II of Ethiopia would lead the Ethiopian forces into battle against the Italians in one of the greatest African victories of all time. It was the Battle of Adwa. Do your research on the Battle of Adwa, ADWA. In fact, go to Sankofa bookstores in Washington, D.C. on the campus of Howard University. I said, go to Sankofa bookstore on the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C. to Haile Jerima's Sankofa bookstore, because our black brother, Haile Jerima, the great elder, great film producer, he made a whole movie on the Battle of Adwa. So I want you to go to Sankofa Books and order the movie, the motion picture, so you can watch it. The Battle of Adwa at Sankofa Bookstore at HBCU, Howard University's campus. And I want you to order the Battle of Adwa and watch how that black king, that black warrior king, the real Prince T'Challa, the real Black Panther, the real Black Panther, Emperor Menelik II, defeated the Italians. He whipped their ass up the block. He whipped their ass down the block. He whipped their ass across the block. And when the whole world told Emperor Menelik to stand down, that black lion, that black Leo, that great Pan-Africanist, when the whole world told Emperor Menelik to stand down, you cannot beat the Italians, Emperor Menelik said, you can't tell me what God has in store for me. And he went out there, even his wife. Even the Empress of Ethiopia rode out to battle beside her husband. Y'all not listening to me right now. She wasn't at home getting her fingernails done. She wasn't at the Louis Vuitton shop. She wasn't looking for a new Mercedes. She was next to her husband on the battlefield of Ethiopia, swinging swords against the Italian invader. That's what a black queen is all about. Not weaving wigs and perms and fingernail polish and high heels. That Empress of Ethiopia went out to war with her husband. And when I asked the question of the Ethiopian tour guide inside of the Ethiopian National Museum, because I spoke last year in Ethiopia at the request of the Ethiopian government for African Liberation Day, I said the Ethiopian government brought the Prince of Pan-Africanism to Addis Ababa. And when I went into the museum several years ago, not last year's visit, but many years ago visit, I asked the question to my Ethiopian brother in the Ethiopian museum. I said, why did Emperor Menelik allow his wife to come fight in battle? Wasn't that dangerous? I asked the tour guide in the Ethiopian National Museum, why did the emperor bring his wife out to battle? And do you know what my Ethiopian brother told me? Do you know what my Ethiopian African brother told me when I asked him, why did the great and mighty king warrior Menelik II, descendant of Queen Makeda and King Solomon, why did he bring his queen out to battle on August the 17th? On March the 1st, 1896 was the battle. He was born August the 17th, 1844. But when I asked why did he bring his queen out the battle, you know what the tour guide said? He said, if Ethiopia loses to the Italian forces, if Ethiopian loses to the Italian forces, if Ethiopian loses to the Italian forces, if Ethiopia loses to the Italian forces, the queen of Ethiopia, the empress of the Ethiopian Empire, will become a slave. She will become a concubine. She will be probably killed and tortured. So if she is to die at the hands of her oppressor, I want y'all to hear me now. I want y'all to hear me now. If she is to die, if the Empress of Ethiopia is to die at the hands of her Italian enemies, wouldn't it be better to die next to her husband fighting like the great queen of Ethiopia she was? Or would it be better to die being tortured and mutilated and enslaved by the Italians so that black woman, that great queen of Ethiopia, went out there with her husband, and through the will of the Almighty God and the African ancestors, they kept Ethiopia an independent African nation, brothers and sisters. I will be the history teacher at the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. In the name of Marcus Garvey's 137th solar return today, in the name of the most honorable Marcus Garvey's 137th solar return, hit your Cash App, $FDMG School. Hit your Cash App, $FDMG School. Hit your Cash App, $FDMG School. International Africans, hit your PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. International Africans, hit your PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. 43 years after the birth of Emperor Menelik, who defended Ethiopia from the Italians, the great royal spiritual king. 43 years after Emperor Menelik is born on August the 17th, 1844. 43 years later on August the 17th, 1887. 43 years later on August the 17th, 1887, the greatest Pan-Africanist of all time, one of the greatest African orators of all time, one of the greatest African leaders of all time, the greatest human organizer who ever walked the earth. I'm going to say it again. The greatest human organizer who ever walked the face of the earth. The most honorable, the right excellent, most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey was born into this world. St. Anne's Bay, Jamaica, same hometown as Bob Marley. The most honorable Marcus Garvey and Bob Marley are both from St. Anne's Bay, Jamaica, the province of kings. The province of kings. Shout out to my St. Anne's Bay. I would have been with y'all tomorrow. I would have been in Jamaica tomorrow, but IRE FM wanted the Prince of Pan-Africanism for 3 days instead of 1 day. I would have been in Jamaica tomorrow at the invitation of IRE FM, but they wanted 3 days. I couldn't give them 3 days because I had already committed to Costa Rica. We must move with integrity. We must move with integrity. But I'm sure my good brothers and sisters in Jamaica will hold down the honor in the legacy, in the rich history and example of the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. I stand with my Jamaican Africans tomorrow at their Garvey Day celebration. His Earth Day is today, but in Jamaica, IRE FM will celebrate on Sunday tomorrow. But we celebrating in Costa Rica today. We celebrating in Costa Rica today at the Liberty Hall in Puerto Viejo de Talamanca, Costa Rica, 4 o'clock today. Marcus Garvey gave us the largest black organization of all time. He gave us the red, black, and green flag. Marcus Garvey gave us the only mass organization after slavery that did not have to use religion in order to organize blacks. I'm going to say it again. Marcus Garvey, His Excellency, the elected provisional prophet and king of Africa. He's the only leader after slavery in the diaspora to give us a mass movement without the need to rely on and exploit black people's eternal weakness, which is religion. Garvey gave us a government in exile. Garvey organized us with African consciousness, brothers and sisters. And on this day, we celebrate the father of the red, black, and green flag. On this day, we celebrate the father of the red, black, and green flag. Marcus Garvey is arguably the only black man in modern history to walk the earth who can be called a race leader. Marcus Garvey was a leader of the African race. Marcus Garvey was organizing in London. He was organizing in Costa Rica. He was organizing in Panama. He was organizing in New York City. Marcus Garvey was organizing across the whole world. No other leader ever took it upon himself to organize the whole race. Garvey is the only one. He gave us the only international distribution system known in modern history, the Black Star Line Steamship Corporation. That's right. I was at the Black Star Line office yesterday here in Costa Rica because the Black Star Line came to Costa Rica. Some people say the Black Star Line, one of them may have even sank here off the shores of Costa Rica, where our revolutionary African ancestors were brought to work for free. We must heal the ancestors by doing the work of liberation. I want you to hear what I just said. In the name of General Tula of Curaçao, in the name of Emperor Menelik of Ethiopia, in the name of the right, excellent, honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, we heal our ancestors when we do the work of African liberation. Y'all didn't hear what I just said. I said when we do the work of African liberation, we are healing our ancestors. I don't think y'all heard me. Who heard what I just said? Who heard what I just said, brothers and sisters? I need some air conditioning because the Leo heat